Hello, everybody. Welcome to Facebook Live. Today, my guest is Ray Ippolito. Hi, Ray.
Hey, Karen, how are you? Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being on. We had a little technical difficulty before we joined, but we're here now. So that's all that matters. So let me just introduce you to Ray. Aside from being a world-renowned performing, producing, educating musician, Ray Ippolito has been working in the animal liberation movement since 2004. And has found a powerful way to connect, educate, and inspire people of all ages. Ray's journey in animal liberation began by participating and co-creating countless demonstrations and leafletting actions opposing international circuses, slaughterhouses, first stores, pet stores, aquarium zoos, and other mediums that exploit and normalize the suffering of animals. Ray has served on the board of director for the Catskill Animal Sanctuary, has spoken to countless universities, has been an invited speaker to the People's Climate March, Omega Institute, and other notable institutions. In an effort to empower other animal liberation organizations, Ray has created countless fundraisers, film panel discussions. This is a great bio, by the way. Vegan festivals and high-level partnerships to benefit the mission of many animal liberation organizations. Let me just get right down to the bottom so we could talk.
Yeah.
He's also the outreach director for Big Love, vegan food for first responders, New York City, that has served almost 4,000 vegan meals to New York City's heroes on the front line. Welcome, Ray, and thanks for being with us.
Yeah, I'm really grateful. Thank you. It's an important time, needless to say, for us to speak about everything that's happening in regard to animals and the cause of all of this, right? So we can get into it.
You contacted me and you said it's a, if not now, when? And that's why I'm having you on right now. And what would you like to talk about? I'm going to leave it to you.
Oh, wow. Thank you. If whenever I have an opportunity to speak or, the path to the soapbox, I'm always going to speak for the voiceless, the ones that we are not listening to. And I'm going to say in a big way, it's Mother Nature right now. And I really believe that this might be the last hint that she's going to give us and the last opportunity that we really have to make a difference. We can see that in the way that things have slowed down partially. We've heard about, the air being cleaner, which I can experience for sure personally. I'm in Florida with family right now, and I look out in the ocean. I went to high school here. I've been here a million times, and I have never seen the horizon on the ocean ever free of fishing and shrimping boats, which is, it just warms my heart more than I can tell you. We've heard of, countless examples of dolphins swimming and animals roaming through towns and stuff because our presence has diminished, because it's been so unbelievably invasive on this planet for, well, since we've gotten here. But I guess I'd say maybe I'd like to know, that'd be an interesting time to know when. I guess since the industrial age, we really started to, destroy the environment, the forests, the oceans, the land, the air, everything, killing, exploiting animals, destroying their habitat and destroying them as well. And as a result, here we are today, COVID-19, yet one of the almost 80% of viruses that we create as a human species through our use, abuse, and exploitation and slaughter of animals. This is just one of the 80% of the viruses that are created through all types of slaughterhouses and fur stores and furriers and dairy farms and everything under the sun. And the way that we destroy the oceans as well. We are on the extreme fast track right now to as they say, the sixth extinction, largest extinction of our time, and we're doing so. We have a very delicate and challenging opportunity, and I believe that this just might be the last chance, as I said, that we have to make a difference. And I would love to talk more about that and see how you feel about that, Karen. And I would love for all the listeners in there to really take this as an opportunity, if you would, please. This is an opportunity that we have at this moment, and a lot of people are scared. I have some fear, but what would it look like? What would it look like if we had the opportunity to create the world that we wanted? what would that look like? Like we do. We're the ones who are creating this. And moving forward, do we have an idea of what that might look like? I think this whole lockdown has been a blessing in so many ways. Things have slowed down. That feels really good. I hope we go back. Maybe we consider going back to a 30-hour work week. Maybe we decide 30-hour work week, 2 hours dedicated to cleaning up the environment and being in nature with our family and loved ones. I think some of these things could be great. I think there's a possibility here that we could make a difference. So I can talk for hours.
I would love for you to, this is all about you today, because you're the expert. And you were saying that other pandemics were caused by animal agriculture. Can you expand on that and how we can prevent it from happening again?
Yeah, so let's explain that a little bit. So let's go through some of them. If any of you remember, you could Google it, you'll find them. I'm sure you've heard of them. SARS, MERS, HIV, AIDS, anthrax, swine flu, avian flu, Spanish flu. In this country alone, we have 48 million cases of foodborne illness every year, largely caused by our use and abuse of animals. And the reality is that through all of these viruses, there are more, I just shared the ones, mad cow, I forgot that one. That was a big one that happened. They're only caused by animals, which the term is zoonotic. So it's zoonotic.
How about this one? Oh, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but make sure to this one. Okay.
Let's include, right? So all of the ones, including this one, right? Thank you for putting that in. It's important. They're all caused by our insatiable desire to eat the flesh and fluids of animals. And, for those of us who are striving to be more spiritually in tune and aligned with ourselves and the planet and the creation of God and whoever you might believe that has created this, or even just our existence here on the planet with other earthlings, other beings that have the same five senses, same desires to be free, same desires not to be slaughtered against their will for them and their families. The reality is that we don't need to eat animals. We just choose to. When we choose to, for our 7.4 billion members of this species, it can't be done in any humane way. It can never be done in any sustainable way or free range or cage free and blah, blah, blah. All the things that we whitewash and greenwash our desires to slaughter animals. Just to have the momentary pleasure of them crossing our tongue because we love the flavor. It's unrealistic. It's irresponsible. It's totally unsustainable, and it's extremely cruel. So a little bit more about that. So when you take mammals and you stack them and you cage them and you give them fear and you create fear and pain and suffering in their life because they can see and hear the others that came before them being slaughtered, the urine, the feces, the blood, the adrenaline and cortisol that runs through them and pours out into the soup. What do you think would occur out of that? That's where virus occurs. That's how it occurs. That's where all the major ones that occur. You haven't heard of the broccoli virus or the orange flu or anything like that, right? They're like swine flu, avian flu, mad cow disease, blah, blah, blah. They all stem from animals.
And this one.
Right? So this one, it's really important. So there's some, unfortunately, we're in the day and age of not having people in our midst that we can really trust, and we'll kind of leave it there so we can stay on topic so everyone can hear what we're saying. It's really an important time to be honest, and when we have people in our world that are untrustworthy, it makes it very difficult for us to coexist with one another and survive and thrive, and it's unfortunate. So the origin of this disease is so far is there's some agreement that it came from Wuhan, China, that it came from the wet markets. And so all of you, if you know what a wet market is.
Can you explain what they are? Yeah.
Yeah. So a wet market is basically a place where you go to pick out animals that you want to eat and they slaughter them for you there. So when I first moved up to New Jersey, there were lots of them. I actually lived directly behind one of them. Unfortunately, I wasn't vegan at that point. And fortunately, I wasn't vegan at that point because I probably would be in jail from what I've experienced there. It was horrible. I remember Thanksgiving would come, and then the whole backyard of that place would be full of turkeys. I remember other holidays for different ethnic groups, and it would be filled with more and more. And it was really sad, disgusting. It smelled horrible. And so a wet market is a place that you can go to have animals slaughtered. But I just want to be clear, in New York City alone, we have a big movement removing those wet markets from the city because they're just filthy and cruel. But beyond our own ethical thing, they are just filthy. You can't walk past one of those without gagging. I mean, anyone, even if you eat animals, you can't walk past it. It's horrific. So there are 80 of them in New York where we're doing a big push to have them removed, and it's working really well. I would also tell you that they're no different than the slaughterhouses that we get the rest of our animals from. So 98% of the food that we get that is derived from animal products comes from slaughterhouses in the United States that cram millions of animals. You know, one of the big warehouses that they have, we think are free range and are cage free, are like the picture on the package. Well, they're not. They live in warehouses with huge silos of corn, huge fan to pump out the ammonia. And if you walked in there, which I have, it would literally burn your sinuses if you do not wear protection, a face mask. So how could these poor little birds survive that way? They don't. They all have pneumonia, they have huge diseases, and in order for them to be cage-free or free-range, they have to have access to the outdoors, which literally means a small hole and a small fenced-in area, which can literally be this big. Access. It's the legal definition, which it's also not enforced whatsoever. So slaughterhouses cause this. The scary part, I'm sorry, Karen, go ahead.
They cause this because people are saying, how does this cause the pandemic? I know everybody's saying, how?
Yeah. So the virus, and please, stop me so make sure that I'm answering the question properly. So when I mentioned that was happening in Wuhan, China, when you have all these animals stacked, dealing with fear, anxiety, suffering, it causes a neurological and chemical reaction in their bodies that produces.
And in our bodies.
Well, yeah, so it does produce in our bodies. So let's start from there. So it starts and produces in their bodies, which, by the way, we eat. Thank you, Karen. We eat, and we get that in our bodies.
Well, we don't, but we don't.
Well, you and I don't, right? You and I don't. And those of you who have chosen to live a life as a vegan, like some of the other great saints, like Saint Francis, like Jesus, like Buddha, some of the other good ones out there, like, all the great teachers and all the great books share, like, very clearly, like, there's no reason to do this, especially now. We have food, tons of fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, grain, tons of plant-based meats, plant-based cheeses, plant-based milks, all that stuff. There's no reason for it. To answer your question, where does it come from?
Yeah, that's what most
So
people.
all those chemicals and all that stuff that happens in the bodies of the animals after they're urinating, after they're defecating, their blood is spilled out, all that stuff creates a virus. Then that virus gets passed on in some way, shape, or form to somebody eating it or exposed to it in that market, gets passed to another person, here we go, and that's it. So I had it, by the way. I had it, and I had it in January. So I haven't been ill, and I've been very happy to boast that I have not been ill since I went vegan 14 years ago. And I have to say, with the exception of one time, which was this virus that I got in January. I'm a musician. I was performing out in Los Angeles for a big trade show called the Consumer Electronics Show, which is a good portion of the folks that were there are Asian, and the manufacturing of most of those products come from Wuhan, China, and China in general. So 80% of the people on my crew were ill, went to the hospital. I didn't, so I could say that. They went to the hospital twice, actually. Nobody knew what was happening. There was no idea that COVID-19, no coronavirus, no one was discussing it. And they went to the hospital twice. I dealt with it, lots of juicing, lots of clean food, got it out of my body, but I suffered with it for a few weeks. Massive cough that was horrific. No taste, no smell. It was horrible. But I got through it and I beat it. And the others did with tons of medication, hospitalized twice, respirators, all kinds of stuff.
And also to recuperate after you do get something like this, it's better to have a vegan diet because your body, you tell us about that, how your body responds better with a vegan diet. It's healthier as well.
Sure. Yeah, of course, because vegan diet is plants. For those of you that don't know by now, it's plants. fruits, seeds, nuts, grain, all that. All the things that all this stuff back here, all the stuff that we were given to eat. The things that we were made to eat, not that we figured out how to eat. We don't have sharp fangs. We don't have sharp nails. We don't have the speed to catch a chicken, a pig, a cow, fish, a tuna. Really? You're going to swim out in the middle of the ocean, grab a tuna? We don't have the apparatus and the digestive system much longer, much longer, like that of an herbivore. Our jaws go side to side. Carnivores don't. We have an enzyme in our saliva that is not present in carnivores, only in herbivores. So there's all these things that really clearly point, if we think about common sense, it points to the reality that we're not supposed to eat animals. Then, as you suggested, if we want to heal our body, or if we want to be in optimal health, our body should be in an alkaline state that only comes from eating plants, not meat, dairy, alcohol, caffeine, and sugar. Those are the things, but meat and dairy are the worst. It sits on our body. The top 2 killers in our country alone are colorectal cancer and heart disease that only comes from eating animals. We don't need to do it at all. We don't need to do it. We want to do it. And in my time, I've spoken to handfuls of people, and well, I couldn't do it. I tried and I couldn't do it. I said, well, I ask if they're open to having an honest conversation, and when they are, they usually are, and we get down to it, like, they ate very poorly. You could eat poorly. Oreos are vegan. Mountain Dew is vegan. You know, there's a lot of nasty things. That sugar is vegan. You know, there's a lot of nasty things out there that we have to be.
Right.
Yeah, you could be a bottom feeder vegan. You could do it wrong, you know, but we can do it right. And if we just look to what we can naturally do and pick, we'll be in great shape. We really will. So this is what's happening. This is why the virus is spreading, is because we choose to eat animals, and then we continue to get ill because we eat animals. And then, by the way, don't worry about it. We have pills for you. Guess where we tested them on? Animals. Like,
yeah.
And how did we raise those animals? We destroyed the forest, right? Every second that I'm talking to you, 2 acres of rainforest are being burnt down. Still, remember everything that happened in Brazil? Still happening. You know, it's unrealistic. It's unrealistic. It's unnecessary, and it's extremely cruel. And I'm going to say one last little thing to the cruel thing. I'm putting that in because of you, Karen, and because of what you stand for, and the people that come to you for you know, just beautiful messages and beautiful understanding of life and a depth of life that requires us to get in touch with our compassion, our peace, our unity, coexisting as fellow earthlings, not the only earthlings. The reality is that if I want peace for myself and for my family, if I want it for you, if I want it for my community, if I want peace and joy and love and respect, I have to contribute that. And I don't do that by slaughtering an animal against its will just to satiate a momentary pleasure. It makes no sense. And I feel for me, it would be an arrogant request and demand that I have peace in my life. I deserve it. I expect it. I deserve it because I'm a peaceful guy. Hey, give me a hamburger. Give me a milkshake. You know,
Let me expand
as
on the spiritual. Let me expand on the spiritual part for my followers who are listening to me. You may be asking how I became vegan. Well, you know my story. Most of you do. I had a spiritual experience over 20 years ago where I actually, St. Francis came to me with the light and everything. And long story short, I started receiving messages from the angels and deceased loved ones. And at that time, I was a meat eater at that time. And I felt the pain of the animals after I ate the meat. So I could not eat meat anymore, right? I assure you, if people were able to feel that, they would never. That's why they do what they do. So I'm not in a place to judge anyone, because if I didn't understand this, I may have been having a hard time, maybe not at this particular time in our lives we know about the environment and what it's doing to our bodies and so forth. But at that time, I just immediately stopped eating meat, just like that. I didn't understand what the dairy industry was doing at that time. So I just was a vegetarian at that time. And I became a vegan, firstly because of the health, because I ate a horrible diet. You could be a vegan, a vegetarian, and have a horrible diet, right? So I ate cheese and cheese and cheese and milk and pizza and cheese and junk and junk and junk and junk and junk. I did not have a doctor. I'm always healthy, but at the same time, I had a bunion on my foot, which I needed surgery for. That was painful. So they did blood tests on, and is there any surprise that my cholesterol was very high because of all the cheese and so forth. So the doctor recommended a statin or something, gave me this prescription. And I went home and I said, this is silly. And something inside me said, why do I need this? I could do this by just changing my diet, maybe. I put it in the cabinet. I have since thrown it away, never used one pill. And I became a vegan that day. No more dairy, no more eggs, no more milk. And it was, in the beginning, it was difficult because I am an Italian. I love cheese and so forth. We could talk about that another segment. But I did become a vegan. And within 3 weeks, my cholesterol went down without medication by just going vegan by 70 points. Another month went by and another 30 points. No medication, just becoming vegan. It was difficult in the beginning. I can't tell you it wasn't. Better for my health, it's better for the animals. And I've since learned what the dairy industry does. We don't even have to talk about that right now. It's just as bad as the meat industry because you're ingesting. Just
Maybe
suffice
worse.
right. So I assure you, if you felt that, you would never eat meat again. And people say, but it's so difficult. It was difficult for me, especially the Italian that I am. My maiden name is Lazzarini, and lasagna and all that. But alternatives to cheese now that are pretty good, and I could recommend them in a different segment. But for now, knowing that this is the cause for the current pandemic, if I don't speak about this now, when am I going to speak about this on the issue? Because I do see, I'm an empath, and I see through everybody's eyes, and not everybody's ready at the same time. So when I do my talks and everybody's open to communicating with spirit, communicating with the angels and deceased loved ones, but when I talk about veganism, because in fact, my last book is We Consciousness, and I talk about the oneness of everyone and everything. Well, that oneness includes animals. They are a part of who we are. They are not separate from us, less than us. They are a part of who we are. But when I talk about that, people agree with me if we talk about dogs and cats and cute birds and two people raise their hand, and I'm losing a lot of people who are listening to me because they don't want to hear about it. So that's why I tiptoe around the issue. So I'm going to be a little bit stronger today. And, just telling you from where I'm coming from. And I asked Ray to be with us today because he's the expert on the issue. And the slaughterhouses and all of that has caused past pandemics as well as the present one. What is the solution, Ray? What is the solution to this problem?
Yeah, I think I think it's very clear that anyone who's listening, who's heard us for the last handful of minutes, could say very clearly what we believe the solution is. But I would also put it to them, like, what do you think the solution is? If I smoke and I get lung cancer, what do you think I should share with everyone in the world in order not to get
that? They might say, but I love smoking. And you see people who have emphysema, they're still puffing away. But we could give this information to people who are ready to hear. I usually preach to the choir, and for the most part, you do too, because vegans love you, and I love you, and everybody loves you. But you know what I'm saying. We could hear your message. And if you tune to 1300 AM, but you want 3200 FM, you're not going to hear the message, right? But we're going to plant the seeds, right? Let's plant the seeds. People understand what we're saying. Go ahead, Ray.
Yeah. And that's it. Listen, again, Jared, it's there's no judgment here. I haven't been vegan most of my life. Neither has Karen. Most vegans haven't been vegan most of their life. I know a handful of people that were born vegan, but not the majority. And we're a small percentage. The reality is that if we could thrive, not survive, if we could thrive not harming others. Why wouldn't you do that? Oh, because you want to. Okay, I got it. Or because it's convenient, right? So desire, convenience, a habit. I get that. Those are
And they eat, families get together and eat and so forth. And I'm sorry to interrupt you. That was one
no.
of the most difficult things for me, having family over, but except all my family, most of them are vegan.
Yeah.
But, having them over and, some of them aren't. And in that case, you have to make alternatives, but I don't want to cook any animals anymore and so forth. Going out to eat with friends and family, but you can do it. I promise you, you can. And
Totally.
if this is what people hear when I'm doing my speaking engagements and so forth, if you feel that you can't become a vegan, a full-time vegan, how about one day a week or one meal a week? And you could see how beneficial it is to you. Now, Ray had the virus and he was cured, healed from it very quickly instead of going in the hospital twice. And that's because he was eating a vegan diet. A vegan diet is actually healthier. It's better for the environment, which we could talk about in another segment, but it's also prevent future pandemics, which we're trying to
Yeah.
bring to the surface.
It's preventative.
Very important to discuss now.
Yeah, it's preventative. And you said it right there. Like, we have those of you that are on the left, those of you that are on the right politically, we start fighting. Oh, this is terrible, and Obamacare is terrible, and this we're going to do it this way, and single payer, blah, blah, blah. What about prevention? We don't ever talk about prevention. It's just so stupid. Why? Because we don't suffer for it. I mean, we're the ones who suffer for it, not pharmaceutical medical companies, not the food companies. Next time you watch TV, look at the commercials that we have. We have Pizza Hut, Kentucky McDonald's, soda, crap, crap, crap. Then what do we have? Oh, if you can't see, if you have erectile dysfunction, if you have heart disease, we got all these pills for you. Then what do you see? Oh, yeah, by the way, I'm a lawyer. Me and my brother here, we're gonna. If you're seeing blue and you can't walk and you're twitching all the time, you can be entitled to a cash reward for your suffering. So it's this cycle. It's the way our system works. It doesn't have to. And we have a chance right now. We have an opportunity to reset. Reset. We have all done something so differently that we
never did before. But I hear everybody saying, how? How do I do this? They think a vegan diet is just lettuce, is just salad. And they think that because you know what? If you're used to meat, there are meat, it's not the healthiest, but there are meat alternatives that you could use. Put that in with your meal. And it tastes just like, I can't even remember what meat tastes like, but people say that, Beyond Meat tastes just like regular meat. And I'm not saying to go to Burger King to support the meat industry. I know that you're against that, but they do have the Beyond Meat burger, whatever. What is it called?
The Impossible Burger, yeah.
Impossible Burger.
And if that's what it takes, if that's what it takes to get you there, then yeah, if it helps, fine. Right. Listen, like I don't support Burger King, McDonald's, KFC, anything. I just don't because they're 99% of what they sell is slaughtered animals. However, if you do go there, what's that?
Let's tone it down a little bit today.
That's hard.
Remember who's listening.
Well, it's really intense. It's really hard, right? And I get it, and I get passionate about it. And anyway, back to the point is, if that's what you need, if you normally go to those places, great. Just get the plant-based alternative. That would be great in order to transition to a place. And Karen, she has a beautiful suggestion. Try it one day a week. Try one meal. I am going to make the bold suggestion of trying it for a month. And the reason why I'm going to tell you that, and it might be a lot for you to consider, but I can tell you it's not. I mean, we have. What's our first world problem here? That we're eating a burger that tastes just like an animal burger, but doesn't have cholesterol, hormones, antibiotics, cortisol, adrenaline, doesn't have all that stuff. Better for the environment. It's better for our spiritual path. It's better for our physiological
without a doubt. You'll be able to connect with angels and deceased loved ones better. As soon as I became vegan, I started to receive messages better because my vibration was raised to a higher level. I wasn't ingesting the pain of other sentient beings.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And there's a lot of other wisdom traditions. You're Italian, probably grew up Catholic in some way, shape, or form, as did I. And we look at Lent, this holiday Lent. We should abstain. Why are we abstaining from that for a short? If that's the holy thing to do, why are we doing it this much time, and then the rest of the time we're just throwing it out? So Karen, you asked how. It's easy. It's easy. There are numerous numbers of plants, tomatoes, avocado, all the squash, zucchini, all the fruits. You know everything that we have out there. I don't have to explain it to you. Oh, you either go to the store, go to the part that's alive, go to that section. And then, as Karen shared, there's
And all that, and there are meat alternatives, and there actually are very good cheese alternatives now, finally. So, right?
yeah, super awesome products. So that's
Yeah.
that. You don't know how to cook it, no problem. There's this thing called YouTube. You could check out zillions and zillions of recipes from uh, sweet potato soul and compassionate cuisine, all kinds of great cooking
Yeah.
recipes. Anything. You can type in almost anything and learn how to do it. You can learn how to make all that stuff. And I highly suggest that since we're on lockdown a little bit, some of us, and everyone's kind of exhausted all the Netflix series, please watch What the Health. Please watch Cowspiracy. Please watch The Game Changers. And for
Pork
those of
overnight.
you, which I know that Karen has shared, this is a beautiful movie for all of you. You'll get it from the title. It's called A Prayer for Compassion. You'll have to find that on the internet. I do not know where it is exactly, but it is a beautiful movie that brings in all the faith and wisdom traditions to share very specifically why it is not in our best spiritual interest, not in the best interest of the unity of our planet and the others that we share it with. It is not in the best interest of our health. But that movie very clearly describes
Is that
about.
a new one, Ray? I haven't heard of that one. That's great.
Oh my gosh, Karen, you got to watch that today. You're
I
gonna do
will.
it.
You
Listen,
said I
and
will.
I'll get you in touch with Thomas, who's the man who created that film. A Prayer for Compassion. That's what we got. That's the gift for you today. That's the gift I
That's
got.
my, we all have different things that we hear. And that I heard. Also, Forks Over Knives is a great documentary. If you go on Forks Over Knives website, you could get recipes from Forks Over Knives. They have cookbooks, all, when we say go vegan, you could have a good vegan diet, healthy vegan diet, or you could eat potato chips and,
Yeah.
you could do that too. But that's okay. As long as, me, when I first became vegan, I treaded lightly, and I tried to the best of my ability to make it healthy, but I have the Beyond Burgers,
Yeah,
and
do what you got to do.
I, and it's okay. As long as I don't, personally, again, I said, I feel the pain of the animals, but I don't need to feel the pain anymore. I know that we're all one. The animals are part of who we are. And whatever we do to ourselves or another, it affects everyone. And by everyone eating meat, this has pretty much created this unfortunate situation in the whole world. So
Yes.
we can all make a difference. And if we don't do it now, when will we?
Exactly. That's a perfect point. I do want to just raise one thing so that we're really clear about something, because some people often say, well, I don't eat bats, or I don't eat snakes, or I don't eat pangolins, and whatever we've heard, through media, what was happening and what happens in those wet markets in China. That's one of the viruses. All the other ones that I listed in the beginning are all related to the things that we eat. So there are plenty. Salmonella, Listeria, Giardia, all these things come from animals. So we have to be really careful about the things that we're E. coli, Ebola. Those are all from animals, and those are all prevalent right now. You can go onto USA.gov and check out all the recalls of the food there, and you can all the diseases that I just listed, all the viruses, they'll be right there. So understand this. Not only does it occur in our slaughterhouses on a massive rate, but the highest rates of COVID-19 right now are in the slaughterhouse workers.
Oh, I know. I know.
Yeah, massive. There's
And the people who are eating
5,000.
meat are getting this, ingesting this, right? All right.
So 5,000 workers right now, 5,000 in the United States have contracted COVID-19. Those are just the ones, by the way, that were tested and reported. So there's more to that as we're seeing. And, stay in a safe place. We're staying safe. We're covering ourselves. We're washing. But are we eating the very thing that caused this and other viruses? Are we eating something that the workers there have the highest rates? Don't trust me. Go Google it. Have the highest rates of COVID-19. Why are we doing this? And I also want to put in one other point for all of you that are it's important to be fiscally conservative and responsible with our money. The animal agriculture industry is the #1 most subsidized industry. And now they were just given $48.4 billion to bail them out of this disaster, when the reality is this. I'm going to paint a picture of a little bit of a perfect world here. Stop eating animals. What does that do? That pumps back all that money back into our economy, in which you can take all those farmers that were concerned about their jobs and have them raise crops. Guess what? Elmhurst Dairy, 95-year dairy company, flipped it, went vegan, or actually I should say that they serve plant-based milks. That's what they do now. They got rid of the dairy cows. They're making more money than they ever have. Fantastic, great. While now the dairy companies now are pumping millions of gallons of dairy just into the drain. We owe it to the mother cows that to love and honor them and respect them. And out in the world, we have opportunities to be vegan, not only for our food, which is the one industry that kills and most animals suffer, but what we wear. And now everyone's glued to the TV watching this guy, the Tiger King. I mean, this guy has beaten and killed more animals. Like, this is outrageous.
But Ray, you know, not everybody understands everything. And even I'm a vegan. I've been a vegan many years now. But center, I had a dream catcher with the feathers on it. And I don't know why I didn't think of it, you know? And you said, I see you have that dream catcher. And I said, oh my God, guess what? It's not there anymore, right? I got rid of all, I used to love dream catchers. I had them all over my house, all gone. I don't know why I wasn't aware of that, but I said, but it's just a few feathers. And you said, yes, but the companies that are making these have to pluck all the chicken feathers, blah, 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 you know, to create an interesting way. You know, what can each one of us, there are some vegans who are listening who are already vegan. What can you do that's different? For me, that was me with the dream catchers, and even all my chairs are cloth. You know, some of them used to be leather and so forth, and the shoes and the clothes are gone, and the shampoo that you use. So we all can make a change. We all can more of what we're ingesting, what we're using, what we're supporting, and so forth.
Can I make one more suggestion to that, Karen?
Yes.
So thank you for bringing that up. That's really important. So for those of you that are vegan, even those of you that are not, that sympathize or empathize and feel that this is the way to go and you're going to go on your path and do things, my request is this. You can do something. So do something. Karen, you have your whole gift to the world has not necessarily been necessarily to be vegan and share. It's been your connection through spirits and angels and all that. So that's beautiful.
It's a big part of it.
But it's a big part of it, and you're using this as an opportunity to share this. So that's your activism, if you want to say it. It is. So I do a lot of activism in a lot of ways, and I'll explain this to you. A friend had said a couple months ago, "Hey, I need some support. Can you help me? You know, some fundraising. I'm going to start feeding first responders in New York City." And I said, sure, I'd be happy to, but you know that I can't support absolutely anything that requires the slaughter of animals. I can't support you buying meat or anything. I said, he goes, well, I have to tell you what, if that's the case, then if I give you all vegan food, you'll have to cook that. And he said, yeah. I said, would you be willing to make this program vegan? And let me tell you why. And I went through the health benefits. I went through everything. And I said, and the basic, if we will, that we're going to feed people and first responders, doctors and nurses meat when this is what caused this thing in the first place. It's like going to an AA meeting and offer shots. You know, it's like, it doesn't make any sense. So I said, if you're willing to do that, I'll take care of the project that way. And I'll jump on. And he said 100%. I said, cool, gotta go. Hung up. I called a dear friend, Seth Tibbett, who's the owner of Tofurkey, and Miyoko from Miyoko's Kitchen, incredible cheese, freaking Generation, Abe's Muffins, who's not far from us in Nyack. There's a lot of great companies that have offered food, follow your heart. And I was able to provide all the food that we cooked, a vast majority of the and all the media attention we got on Forbes, we got on Jane Unchained, all kinds of stuff. And that's just because, and I'm not saying that to like, look at me, I'm just saying that I just took what somebody was doing and said, hey, what about if you think about it like this? And he took it on. And then I just used I know all these folks in the industry, and that's what I've been, a director of strategic partnerships and outreach for different organizations. So I used what I knew to make something happen. Maybe you can do that. Maybe you out there can do that. Maybe you could do something where you're offering vegan food for kids, or even cook for doctors and first responders or whatever. Or this is a time when you sit with your family and you watch those movies that I suggested and Karen suggested. Other people watch at the same time. Do something, because again, when, Karen? Now. If not now, when? This may be the last chance that we really have to take a hint from Mother Nature to what we're doing. Please, this is not a joke. I don't know what's going to happen, neither do you, but the trajectory is it's going to continue unless we do something different. If we continue to do the same thing the same way, we're going to get the same result. Go vegan. It will completely change and transform our environment, our body, our spirituality, and our impact on the planet.
You are amazing, Ray. I thank you so much for being with us today. And you're the expert on veganism. I just know I'm a vegan because I can't eat meat because of, I feel it. For those who follow me, again, understand that if you become a vegan, energy will raise to a higher level and you'll be able to receive more messages from the angels and deceased loved ones. So that's a wonderful byproduct. Be healthier, it's better for the planet, and of course, it's better for the animals. So thank you, Ray. Thank you for everyone for listening. And we'll do this again, Ray, okay?
Every day, I'm happy to do it whenever you want. Anytime I have an opportunity to speak for animals, I'm there.
Beautiful. Thank you again. And bye-bye for now. Bye, everybody.
Everyone, go vegan.
Thank you.